Hello everyone, I'm Dave Robbins with Endtime Ministries and the host of the Indie Age television program. I wanted to kind of give a news breaking story that's happening right now. Throughout this year, part of last year and throughout this 2022, I've been reporting on the red heifers that they are looking for in Israel. My father-in-law, Irvin Baxter, reported on them for years. Especially since 1967, Israel has been trying to acquire a true rabbi-approved red heifer. In 1967, they had the 6 Days War, and Israel conquered the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is in our hands, they said. And they really started pushing for the rebuilding of the third temple at that point. They thought they would build the third temple and that the Messiah would return. Well, of course, that hasn't happened yet. And they've been looking for a red heifer. The red heifer, the significance of that is in Numbers 19, verses 1 through 22. And it says that to take a red heifer in the third year, that's very important, and that they would sacrifice that red heifer, mix the ashes with water, and some different rituals, and that they would atone for the sins of Israel. It would be a purification sacrifice for anybody who had ever been in contact with a dead body or something like that. So today, the Israelis know that pretty much anybody has been in contact with a dead body, whether you've been in a hospital or you've walked by a graveyard, anything like that. And so they know that they need to have a red heifer to be able to sacrifice for the purification of Israel, to be able to implement the sacrifices that will be used for the all of the rituals that go with the third temple. So they've been looking for this third heifer or the red heifer for many, many years. We know from the prophecies of the Bible, from Revelation chapter 11, verse 1 and 2, and from Zechariah chapter 2, that there will be a third temple built on the Temple Mount. In Revelation 11, 1 and 2, John was told to measure the temple, but don't measure the outer court, because it will be trodden down of the Gentiles for 42 months. The temple he was prophesying about was the third temple. How do we know that? Because when he wrote the book of Revelation in about 95, 96 AD, when he was exiled out on the Isle of Patmos. So the temple that he prophesied about was not the second temple, because the second temple was already destroyed in 70 AD by the Roman general Titus. So we know there's a third temple is going to be built in the very near future, and that they will re-implement the sacrifices like they did in the Old Testament. The reason we know that they're going to re-implement the sacrifices is because the Bible says halfway through the final 7-year period, there is going to be a final 7-year period, a final 7-year period immediately preceding the second coming of Jesus Christ in the Battle of Armageddon. Halfway through that final 7-year period, there's going to be an event called the Abomination of Desolation. The Bible says in Daniel chapter 11 that the Antichrist will cause these sacrifices to cease. And the Abomination of Desolation is when the Antichrist, this is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, when the Antichrist will stand in that rebuilt Jewish temple, that third Jewish temple, and cause the sacrifices to cease and claim to be God himself. Well, the sacrifices, that's why it's so important what's happening right now in the news and why I wanted to do this news break, is because in order for them to resume the sacrifices, they have to have a red heifer. So I've been talking to you all throughout this year about an effort to get a red heifer. A friend of mine named Byron Stinson has been over an effort to get true rabbi-approved red heifers for some time now. Believe it or not, he found many of them right here in Texas. I'm from Dallas, Texas. He's from Glen Rose, Texas, but he found many of them on different ranches around Texas. A partner of ours talked to me and said, "Hey, Dave, I'm going to look at a red heifer." It was sometime late January, early February. I went with him. I met him over at an event where they were revealing one of the red heifers. Well, of course, my father-in-law had followed this for years. Israel's never been able to acquire a red heifer and get it to age, to 2 years and 1 month into the third year. when it would be a qualified rabbi-approved red heifer for the sacrifice. So I went over in Carrollton, Texas, earlier this year in 2022 to look at a red heifer that was supposedly rabbi-approved. I was still skeptical at that point because I thought, man, I can't go on the radio and television. I need to make sure I double-check all of this. I went over there and saw the red heifer. Looked like a red cow to me. And I asked some questions to the rabbi via Zoom because they had already headed back to Israel. They had been here and approved the red heifer. I saw that. I met Byron Stinson for the first time, and we became friends. Later on in the year, I think it was in May or maybe early June, a friend of mine, we went down to a ranch south of Rockwall, Texas, because he said we have 21 rabbi-approved red heifers. Well, I thought, this is unbelievable. So I went down there with a friend of mine. We saw the red heifers. We saw some rabbis from the Temple Institute. Now, the Temple Institute is the #1 entity on the planet that is pushing the building of the third temple. They're the ones with an Ark of the Covenant, a model of that they've recreated. The candelabras, everything that goes in the Holiest of Holies, the table of shewbread, the altar of incense. They have a brazen altar, a brazen laver. I mean, they have everything that's needed. The priest robes, they're training the priest. I mean, they're all in on rebuilding the third temple. Well, they had a couple representatives at the Rockwall, Texas meeting where I went down to this ranch to see these 21 red heifers. They were doing blood testing and everything to make sure it would be okay for these cattle to be shipped through Europe down into Israel. Well, I kept talking to Byron Stinson, the guy who was over the project, the guy here in Glen Rose, Texas, and he said that I said, where are we at? You shipped the heifers yet? No. We're trying to get approval through Europe and into Israel because they were shipping livestock, and it's very hard to get permits to do that. So here about a month and a half ago, he said, hey, Dave, we're getting ready to ship the heifers. We got all the tickets bought. It's going to be a go. Well, he contacted me. The day it was supposed to ship, I contacted him. I said, hey, did they ship? He said, no. The Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv contacted me and called it all off for some frivolous nonsense reason and said we can't receive them right now. Well, he already had all the tickets bought, everything. Imagine to ship 5 cows by freight through Europe down into Israel. So his plans were dashed at that point. But he said, we're not done trying, so we're going to try again. Well, over the last couple days, they got the tickets bought, they got everything set, and everything was approved. The red heifers shipped yesterday and just a few hours ago. Now, I wanted to tell you today because I couldn't be live on the air today. I can't believe this. Because the day the red heifers arrived in Israel, these 5 rabbi-approved red heifers that would be getting several months, maybe close to a year old, if my time is right, I couldn't be on the air today live because I just got off of a Newsmax, my first Newsmax interview, which was so rushed. I hope if you watch it that you'll recognize, man, they were just plowing through information in 4 minutes, and I had to get so much out. Well, I'm used to teaching for hours on this stuff, and I had to cram so much in 4 minutes. So that was my Newsmax interview. However, I didn't want to let today go by without letting you know the significance of what happened in Israel. Go to my Facebook page. Go to Temple Institute Facebook pages. There's videos, and I'm going to show you a video clip at the end of this. There's videos about the red heifers arriving in Israel. This is very significant. It could be one of the most, if they ended up getting up to 2 years and 1 month, which would be just over a year from now, maybe a year, year and a half, and they were still rabbi-approved red heifers, and they could be used for the purification sacrifice, that would be humongous. It could be one of the most significant prophetic fulfillments in the last 2,000 to 2,500 years. Because if they could do that and then and build a third temple and start implementing the sacrifices, I mean, that's, everybody knows. I've had backsliders tell me, Dave, I'll get back in church when they start building that third temple because we're just prior to the second coming of Jesus Christ at that point. What is happening in Israel today with the red heifers arriving there, 5 rabbi-approved, fully kosher red heifers today Very, very important. I wanted to give you a live news update. I'm leaving for Israel tomorrow morning. I'll be over there. I'm going to try, if I can, if the times work out, to get Byron Stinson, who's over there for the big reveal, to come talk to our group. I wish everybody listening could be in that group. However, I'll try to do, if I can do that, I'll try to do some live streaming and different things. But as of right now, the red heifers showed up in Israel, and it's very, very prophetically significant. I wanted to come before you and tell you what was going on. And I want you to watch a clip here. I'm not coming back on after this, but I want you to watch a clip of the red heifers arriving in Israel. They're on the airport docks. They just got there. Many of the rabbis and different people from the Temple Institute, Byron Stinson, they all gave speeches prior to this. And then I'm going to bring you in when they're up on the dock, and Rabbi Lupitsky's going up there to view them and saying, hey, how this will change the world. It's so significant. And it's very huge from a prophetic standpoint once you understand the prophecies of the Bible. Read Numbers chapter 19, verses 1 through 22. Read Daniel 9:27, Revelation, or Daniel 11, when it talks about the Antichrist causing those sacrifices to cease. Read Zechariah chapter, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1 down through about 4. Read Revelation 11, 1 through 2. You kind of get the significance of all of this. And it's very, very important. And I wanted to come before you live to make sure you understood. I'll be talking about it more. I wrote an article about it in the March-April 2022 edition of Endtime magazine. There's articles on our website about it, many different things, but we want you to understand, folks, we're not looking for the end time to begin. We're way off into the end time. This stuff is supposed to happen just a very short period of time, just a few years prior to the second coming of Jesus Christ in the Battle of Armageddon. I want you to watch the clip, understand the significance of that, and we'll be doing more videos in just the near future to make sure you understand how close we are to the second coming of Jesus Christ and the Battle of Armageddon. And we want to prepare you mentally, physically, and spiritually for the times just ahead and for eternity. God bless. Now watch the clip.
We interrupt the rabbi because the red heifers are arriving right now.
Actually, here are the red heifers.
You see?
Everybody.
This is it. This is the moment. They've arrived, and we're about to see them for the first time here in the land of Israel. In that, behind that wooden, inside that wooden box.
Whoever's by the edge, they're a bit ants. Be careful.
Josh, you taking video? Because I'm taking stills.
You can see them peeking out. They look beautiful. Perfect. They just look perfect. They look happy, content. Wow, these look like the finest red heifers from around the world. For those not familiar with the song, it's all about the Holy Temple. The red heifers are going to make their way directly from here to 10 days, I believe, in quarantine. That's how you move livestock from country to country. Okay, they're getting a little anxious inside. Wow, this is really amazing. They're frightened by all the activity going on around them. Going onto that vehicle right there, and the workers here are trying to clear everybody away so they can make it right to the vehicle. I think anybody watching on our Facebook feed is probably getting the best shot of anybody in the world, the best view of these heifers right now. They are beautiful. See that woman with the yellow vest is from the veterinary administration here in Israel. She's overseeing this.
אין הגדרה לאדום. אדום זה בעצם כל מה שנמצא לצורך העניין חום ועד לכתום. זה ההגדרה ההלכתית. לכן החום הזה והאדום, ההסתכלות שהם יעברו, אדומות לגמרי, שום שערה לבנה, מקווים. עכשיו שבועיים לא ראינו שערה, אבל מקווים שאין שום שערה לבנה.
Many times people come to the airport to greet new olim, new arrivals, human beings, Jews making aliyah to Israel. I think this is the first time that there's been such a welcome committee to greet some red heifers who have the potential to change everything, to change history, to change the direction of where we're going in the world.